Hi, Franklin Allaire here again with Science Olympiad, and welcome to part 3 of our training series. In this part, we're going to be taking a closer look at the tournaments, specifically at how they get scored. Now, the trick is, of course, that there are at most 23 events in any division and only 15 team members on your school team. With a limit of 2 students per event, you're going to have to do some juggling. So some things to consider, of course, are student preferences, a balance between the more task-based and knowledge-based events, the grade level that students are at, and of course the academic knowledge that they're bringing to your team. Very important thing to consider, though, is to train for the future. And that's why Science Olympiad limits the number of seniors for a high school team and the number of 9th graders for a middle school team. And all of this goes back to your coaching philosophy of win, place, or show. What is it that you and your students are trying to get out of participating in the Science Olympiad program? Now, there are 3 levels of Science Olympiad competition. Regional levels are qualifying rounds for the state tournament, and the state tournament is the qualifying round for the national tournament. As of late, other schools have begun holding their own invitational competitions and scrimmages, and I highly recommend participating in these. Not only are they great to build camaraderie with other schools, but they also give you and your students a chance to participate in Science Olympiad in a competitive atmosphere without it affecting your standings at the regional or the state level. Now, at a tournament, students are the ones obviously participating in the events. Now, for some events, the times are going to be assigned, and that means that students in that event have to participate at that time. There are also what are called self-schedule or sign-up events, and those events are a little bit more flexible and allow students to choose the time in which they are competing. Now, the events that have assigned times are usually closed to the public, which means that the only people that should be in the event are the event supervisor and the students participating in that event. These self-schedule events tend to be open to the public. That means that fellow students, coaches, parents, and even members of the public who are interested in coming to the event can go and see those events and cheer their favorite teams on. So let's take a look at a sample schedule. Here's one in which we have a series of events scattered over 3 time blocks. And this was a tentative schedule that we used one year for the Leeward Regional Tournament. Now, you have events like Anatomy and Physiology and Rhodes Scholar, as you can see, are at the same time. So again, these are events any student that would be participating in Anatomy or Rhodes Scholar would need to be in those events at that time. Heredity and Meteorology occur at the same time, and Simple Machines and Write It Do It are occurring at the same time. Now, this is important because you want to make sure that you're not scheduling students for 2 events that occur at the same time, because they cannot be in 2 places at the same time, which is why on our side we try to come out with the schedules as early in the year as possible to make organizing your team that much simpler. Now, as I mentioned, some of the events are sign-up or what are known as self-schedule events. And as you can see, they go all 3 time blocks, and students can sign up for any time that they want as long as it doesn't interfere with another event that they are participating in. Now, at the tournament, the events are scored on the same day that students participate in them. There are no ties. Each event has its own tiebreaker. Teams are then ranked in each event, and each rank is given a point value. So for instance, in Anatomy, whatever school comes in first place is given 1 point. The school that comes in second place gets 2 points. The school that comes in third place gets 3 points, and so on and so on and so on. The points are then totaled up for an overall score, and the lowest score wins. So let's take a look at a couple of scenarios so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's the sample tournament where we have 4 high schools, Hibiscus High School, Lincoln High School, Kukui High School, and Aloha PCS participating in 8 different events. They participate in their events, the events get scored, the scores are then given point values, and here we have the point values along with the totals down on the right-hand side. As you can see here, Aloha PCS has the lowest score, So they would be in first place. Kukui High School is in second place with 19 points. Hibiscus High School would be in third place with 21 points. And with 22 points, the highest total score, Lincoln High School would be in fourth place. It's that simple. Now, there are a couple of scenarios that you should be aware of. As I mentioned in previous videos, schools are not obligated to participate in all of the events. So in this scenario, Hibiscus High School has chosen not to participate in gravity vehicle and helicopter. Now, they don't get a score of 0 because 0 would lower their overall score. Instead, they get a non-participating score of n plus 1, where n equals the total number of teams participating in their division. Since we have 4 teams, Hibiscus High School, Lincoln High School, Kukui High School, and Aloha PCS, their non-participating score is going to be n plus 1, or 4 plus 1, which is 5. So we add on those additional points, and again, Aloha PCS would be in first, Kukui High School in second. Lincoln now would be in third, with Hibiscus High School in fourth place. Now, a third possible scenario involves disqualification. We really try to not disqualify schools, but sometimes it can't be avoided, especially when safety is the issue. In this particular scenario, we see that Hibiscus High School was disqualified in 2 events, chemistry lab and helicopters. Now, they could have been disqualified in chemistry lab because they lacked the proper safety equipment, which is why it's very important to read the event parameters. For helicopters, they may have been disqualified because they could have removed their safety equipment in the middle of the event. Generally speaking, we try to give teams a warning before they get disqualified. Now again, like the non-participating, they don't get a score of 0. Instead, they get a score of n plus 2, where again, n is the total number of teams in that division. So 4 teams, 4 plus 2 equals 6. And here our scores on our overall places would be Aloha PCS in first, Kukui High School in second, Lincoln in third, and again, Hibiscus High School in fourth place. Now, in this particular scenario, let's take a look at the scores. We totaled everything up, and Kukui High School has the lowest score for first place. Aloha PCS is in second place, but we have the same total number of points for both Hibiscus High School and Lincoln High School. As I mentioned before, there are no ties. So what is the tiebreaker when it comes to overall scoring? We look at the number of first places in events, and we see that Hibiscus High School has a first place medal in disease detectives, but Lincoln High School has 2 first places in anatomy and physiology and in rocks and minerals. And because Lincoln High School has more first places than Hibiscus High School, they will have a rank of 3rd place, and Hibiscus High School, I feel kind of bad for them. I feel like we're picking on them right now. But they have 4th place in this scenario as well. Now, what happens if teams have the same number of first place medals? We go then to 2nd place medals. And if they have the same number of 2nd place, we go to 3rd place, and so on, and so on, and so on, until we get to a tiebreaker to determine the places. Now, if at any time during a regional, state, or even the national tournament, you feel that your team is being treated unfairly or that the rules are not being followed, all teams are able to submit appeals forms. Now, something to be aware of is that it is the head coach who fills out and submits the appeals form. It is their name that goes up at the top, and it is their signature that gets applied. If you are interested in filing an appeal, you obtain the appeal form from the tournament director, you fill it out with whatever rule or procedure you feel was not followed, you provide evidence, you suggest a solution, and you turn this back into the tournament director. You do not approach the event supervisor. Once turned back in, the tournament director will then approach the event supervisor to get their opinion on what occurred during that event. And finally, an arbitrator will rule on a decision, and their decision is final. So one of the most important things to do for both the coaches, students, and of course for our event supervisors is to read the rules. And of course go online to the national website www.soinc.org to check for any rules clarifications that may occur throughout the year. Now I know that we covered a lot in this particular video, and I know that we covered it rather quickly. So if you have any questions about something that we covered here, or maybe something that we missed, please don't hesitate to email us at hisciolympiad@gmail.com. Coming up next in our fourth video, how to maintain your sanity as a Science Olympiad coach, and we'll go on a tour of some of the online resources available to both you and your students.